when I've eaten a little too much sugar or I'm not hydrated, I'll get dry patches around my chin and my mouth. It's fascinating. Your skin is sending you signals all the time.
Here's JJ Virgin, triple board certified nutrition and fitness expert and 4-time New York Times bestselling author. It's time to reignite wellness.
Hey, it's JJ. So I am obsessed with skin. If you come over to my house at some point, you look in my bathroom, you will see I am like a hoarder of skin products. And it was because I struggled with my skin for years and years and years, from the age of 10, 11 years old, until I finally was able to connect the dots and figure out that it wasn't just sugar that was creating the problems for my skin, that dairy was a massive culprit, and that kind of spurred the birth of the virgin diet. And we go on from there. So I'm always seeking out super smart people to talk skin with. And so I was thrilled to run into Dr. Keira Barr at the Mind Body Green Revitalize event out in Tucson, Arizona last July. Hey, shout out Mind Body Green friends. Let's not do Tucson in July though. Let's possibly do it in, I don't know, the fall. Anyway, it's a fun event, and I was excited to run into Keira, and I was like, all right, my friend, you need to come on the show and talk skin. So we're going to dive in today with Dr. Keira Barr, who is a dual board certified dermatologist. She's also certified in integrative wellness, and with her own health struggles, really kind of redid her entire career, how she approaches skin and health, and has some really interesting things to share with us today on what to do with your skin. And one thing that I was so excited when she mentioned, because it's something you probably would never think about with skin that can make the biggest change. And I'm not telling you what it is. You'll have to listen to the interview. Also want to mention that she's got a great book, The Skin Whisperer, a dermatologist reveals how to look younger, radiate beauty, and create the life you crave. Now, I'm going to put her information up at jjvirgin.com/beauty code, because today we're really talking about cracking the beauty code and about what you need to do for glowing skin. And it is not, hint, hint, what you're putting on your skin, even though I love all that stuff. That's kind of secondary to the rest of it. All right. Now, before we dive into that, I wanted to do a shout out to A. Quins from the Philippines. Oh, I just love that we have listeners in the Philippines. How super cool. All right. So 5-star review says, one of the best podcasts for fitness and weight loss. This is for sure in my top podcasts, easy to implement strategies for weight loss. Each time I refresh my podcast feed, I'm hoping that I'll see a new podcast. If you aren't already listening, do yourself a favor and subscribe. Thank you so much. So you can subscribe easily. All you have to do is go to subscribe to JJ. And while you're there, I'd love to have a review from you so I can shout you out. Here's the deal too, is what you're going to find. We're in season 2. After a couple years, we've now done season 2. And now what we're doing is a guest interview, a solo interview. I guess it's not really an interview if it's a solo. It's me. And then I'm doing Friday Q&A. So we've got 3 things coming out each week. So you'll definitely want to subscribe so you never miss an episode. All right. Getting ready to dive into this interview. But first, a favorite. Dr. Keira Barr, welcome to the show. I'm super, super excited to dive into all things skin with you.
Well, I am super excited to be here with you.
Okay, so a little thing no one knows about me. I would love to be a dermatologist.
Really?
I think that if I was any type of doctor, I think GI doctors and dermatologists, but dermatologists especially, because, you can, I think back to school. And I always loved math in school because you could tell if you were doing it right. You got instant feedback. And when you think about skin, you get instant feedback. Is this helping or not? Right?
100%. Yes. I always say that your skin can be your biggest cheerleader, and it is also your worst confidant. It'll tell all your secrets.
Yes. So I'd love to know before we dive into all of this, you as the skin whisperer, which I love, and I know you have just a different approach. So I'm really excited about this interview, but I'd love to know how you got here in the first place. What made you decide to become a dermatologist and get into all of, and then kind of take a different path than most of the dermatologists?
Yeah. It's so funny. It wasn't until very recently. It was actually after Mindshare, actually, and working with Chris Smith and working on kind of diving into my story, that I really was able to connect the dots going backwards as to how I probably wound up in dermatology in the first place. Because I had two birthmarks on one on each side of my face, and as a kid, I was basically bullied because of them, and they were called coffee stains, and I was just embarrassed by them and tried to hide.
So they weren't like a Cindy Crawford birthmark.
Yeah, no, they're little, but what's funny and ironic is they literally are cafe au lait spots. So those kids actually were really smart. And if I had perceived and had a different way of seeing things then. But I think my fascination with skin, or not feeling comfortable in my skin, was a big driver for when I went to medical school. I just didn't put it all together, but dermatology, so there's that personal piece. But then in medical school, I couldn't make up my mind. I'm like one of those people, when I was eating cereal, had to have like 100 cereals, I could never I need to have all the variety. And dermatology is that. It's internal medicine, it's pediatrics, it's surgery, it's cosmetics, it's pathology. And you didn't have to choose. It was like the best of everything. And it just won my heart over. And so I'm also dermatopathologist, so studying skin on the surface as well as what's beneath it, and being able to visualize, when you see things underneath the microscope, and then being able to know exactly what that's going to look like on the surface. I just geek out on that. I love it.
Wow. I think it's super fascinating. And again, I had really, really bad skin starting like just literally the age, I think like the age of 11 or 12. Boom, I had bad skin my whole life until I really really stopped listening to doctors telling me that diet had nothing to do with it. Right? And figuring that piece out, but I just find all of this so fascinating, and especially now that we are starting to look beyond just, I mean, back when I was having all these issues, it was all what could you do topically, never what was really going on,
Right.
right? So since you really wanted to be in something where you could look at everything, and clearly with the skin, so much of what we do is reflected on our skin. What's your approach? Like, how do you approach this? Because again, for so many years, I went to dermatologists and they told me just to try different topical things or take antibiotics. They never once said it could be something that I was doing or a lifestyle habit or anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we were taught to just name, tame, or name, blame, and tame, right? So this is what it is. We think this is why it's happening, and this is the pill or salve that you're going to use to deal with it. And honestly, my approach really stemmed out of my own health issues. Several years ago, my health really took a turn, a downturn. I thought I was doing all the healthy, right things, but had to wind up diagnosing myself with melanoma, and then had hormone issues, and tore my hip in reconstructive surgery, gut issues. I mean, it was a literal shit show. And I was going from doctor to doctor, and they were just giving me different pills and try this and do that. And I was just feeling sicker and sicker, and my pain wasn't going away. I wasn't getting better. And I was like, wait a second. There's got to be another way. There's got to be something more that I can do. And that is really what led me on the path of really taking a deeper look at how I was truly living my life. Like, it's true in dermatology, especially, in the literature, there's been such a debate whether diet makes a difference. So as far back as the 1930s, there were two dermatologists, Stokes and Pillsbury, who did a lot of research and really identified.
It's not Pillsbury like Pillsbury, the
Not the
Doughboy.
Doughboy, but it is the way.
Okay. I was like, wouldn't that be ironic? Okay.
But they did identify a link, the gut-brain connection and anxiety. Unfortunately, our specialty kind of just swept it under the rug for several decades. And thankfully, now pendulum is swinging back and really bringing awareness to the fact that diet can make a difference, especially dairy and sugar with regards to acne and just inflammation in general. But for me personally, looking at my diet was one of the first things that I had to do. And I, with a family history of heart disease, I had been under the impression you should be eating low fat and all, and so I know, so antiquated. So really, working with a nutritionist and starting with food. And then the second piece was sleep. As physicians, we don't prioritize sleep whatsoever. And I trained during the time there was no 40-hour work week. You were at the hospital for 48, 72 hours. Whenever the work was done is when you got to go home. And I had, even though it had been 10 years, I was still in a pattern of always being on the go and I'll catch up later and not realizing the stress that put on my body.
I hope they've changed that in hospitals because although I didn't see it when my son was just in the hospital 5 years ago, it's like I don't understand the point of working people to exhaustion in a place where you're hoping to get people healthy, but you're not starting with it's like I don't get the reason behind that. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
so hopefully that's starting to shift. But so you figured out diet stuff. Now, as you were starting to make these changes, and I know that it was overall a lot of different health issues, were you starting to notice anything going on with your own skin with it, like what was happening as you started to do that change?
For me, my tell, number one, with regards to my diagnosis of melanoma, for a decade prior, every few months I was getting biopsies for growing and changing lesions. My moles were funky, changing color. And I just thought that was normal as a dermatologist. You would just cut it out. What I noticed once I started really paying attention to all facets of my well-being, I have not had to have a biopsy in 7 years now. Like my skin has stabilized. So that's huge. That's number one, really focusing on antioxidants and decreasing the stress load on the body. The second thing for me might tell when I've eaten a little too much sugar or I'm not hydrated or really not taking as good care of myself, especially with travel. I'll get dry patches around my chin and my mouth. And, when I am more mindful and I'm hydrating well, I'm really focusing on taking good care of myself, those clear up. So it's fascinating. Your skin is sending you signals all the time. It is that idea that you want to hear the whisper, not the shout. And so that those dry patches are the whisper, like, listen, you got to pay attention. What are you doing right now? Are you hydrating? Are you sleeping? Are you doing the things that are going to support your well-being? Because the shout was the melanoma, and I don't want anyone else to get there. So yeah, your skin definitely gives signals, and for mine, those were the two big ones.
And the thing you don't want to do is get the signal and just go cover it up.
Right. It's not just like, oh, let me just put a little foundation, makeup on it. Let's just ignore it. No, pay attention to that. In this today's society, thyroid issues I feel like everyone has thyroid issues, myself included. And I know that a lot of that is from years of stress. But, hair thinning, hair loss, thinning of the eyebrows, dry skin. There's so many signs and, messages that your skin is sending you that can be clues to thyroid issues or metabolic syndrome. There's something called acanthosis nigricans that usually on the folds of the skin, back of the neck, groin, axilla, darkening and thickening of the skin. Those are telltale signs that your body is struggling and is insulin resistant. So, there are just so many opportunities just by taking a few minutes to kind of party in your birthday suit, right? Like get naked, just kind of look at yourself and see what is different, what is changing, so that you can really tune into what may need more of your attention and get checked out by a dermatologist.
I will tell you that I do a magnifying mirror every single day and body check. I mean, okay, maybe I'm a little bit over the other side. And then I have my derm who I have look at, like, I see him every 3 to 6 months and have things checked because it's like, catch these things before they become problems. But you can start to see any shift, like if your diet shifts, your skin shifts. So super critical. So for you, you're a practicing dermatologist. What are women coming to you most often?
So,
complaining
the
about?
last few years, I've actually not been practicing in the traditional sense. So I don't have a brick and mortar. So I am teaching women how to address their skin, both literally and figuratively, because for me, my story was that I just felt uncomfortable in my skin, didn't have self-confidence, and that really impacted how I was showing up in the world and the choices I was making.
But it really does. It impacts. I think about all the things I missed in school because I was so self-conscious about my skin. I just didn't go.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's a big component of what I work with women currently. So what I find most women are complaining, just because I've shifted the focus of my practice, is they are, for the most part, tired of being tired. They look in the mirror and they've got those dark circles. They are wondering why their skin is so sallow and dyspigmented, and they're getting more wrinkles, and they're breaking out when they didn't used to break out before. And so much of that is a direct correlation to their environment and their lifestyle factors. And that's such a beautiful, it's frustrating on one hand because there is no quick fix, but it's such a gift on the other because there are so many opportunities to make changes and to then see big shifts.
Right. And in most things in life, there's not a quick fix. But I think what's cool is there is a fix, and it's not a $200 skin serum. I mean, those things can help. Hey, I'm also a skincare junkie, but I would think that it starts much more with diet and lifestyle, and then those things can help. But without that key underlying stuff,
100%. And those
trouble.
serums can be really expensive. So if you want the best return on your investment, you kind of need to do all the things. And then the serum is the icing on the top. Like you can't, we were talking about, like you can't diet and supplement your way to healthy. That stuff will help, but it's taking a more comprehensive approach.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of that. So, like, if you were going to pick one thing, and I know it's really a variety of things that are going to help, and I'm going to put all the links to your information in the show notes, and I'll do that at jjvirgin.com/beauty code. But what would be like the first one thing, if people were going to pick one thing to shift, that you would make the biggest impact? I love that you said that. Like, that makes me so deliriously happy. That's like, I am so in line with you, because if I could pick one thing, people always think I'm going to say gluten or sugar. And I'm like, nope, it's sleep. And why is that?
Well,
why is sleep such a key critical one for skin?
Your hydration, like you do, there's transepidermal water loss, but it's the time of repair. And growth factors and other things that keep your skin resilient and youthful looking. The most important thing is you generate melatonin when you sleep. And melatonin, being one of the most potent antioxidants in our body, is significant for skin. research, and I'm kind of excited. It's kind of like the new like buzz ingredient that's in a lot of skincare products these days. Because what they found is that melatonin is significant with helping DNA repair from UV exposure. So they're actually doing studies using topical melatonin even for skin cancer prevention and management. And you generate that potent ingredient on, in your body when you sleep. So yeah, yeah. So I can't.
So it also declines as we age. So is this something that you're recommending people supplement as well? Like, could that be helpful, especially with protecting against
So I
skin
don't
cancers? Or am I making
I
a
think
leap?
that I'm still the research is still being done in terms of topical application. I don't typically recommend a lot of oral supplementation. I like to use other supplements that help support good sleep, like L-theanine, magnesium, valerian, things that help ease someone into sleep and get restful sleep versus giving them melatonin. Because not everyone responds well to it. They have that kind of groggy hangover feel. So I guess that's my.
Yeah, I find people who've got enough melatonin
Yeah.
have a groggy hangover feel, and when they don't, they don't. Like, so I think it's actually
Mm-hmm.
kind of a good subjective assessment. I know back 20, 30 years ago, I couldn't take any melatonin. I'd be like hungover the next day and a
Yeah.
grog. Now I do great with it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure some of that, sadly, the decline with aging.
Maturity.
All right, beyond sleep, which I love. What about what are some of the worst
I
foods
had
for
mentioned
your
earlier
skin?
sugar, which I right in your wheelhouse, and dairy, and they both, yeah. Um,
Yep. Dairy changed my oh my gosh, all those years of eating dairy. And then Kira, when the whole frozen yogurt craze
totally.
came out and I was having non-fat, it was all non-fat. I mean, I had cystic acne for what, like 20, 25 years until I figured out it was dairy. I was like, "Oh my gosh." So yeah, let's go after dairy and let's go after like sugar. What is it really doing to your skin, and why is it such a
Yeah.
problem? And then
Well,
dairy,
both of them,
what
especially
is
with
it doing
regards
to your
to
skin?
acne, they stimulate the insulin growth factor 1 receptor, which turns on, your oil glands to produce more oil, which is one of the contributing factors for acne. So that's one of the biggest, you know, components. The other thing is inflammation. So
Mhm.
especially with sugar, there's something called the accelerated glycation end products, and sugar. Sugar isn't the only thing that generates these. Cooking methods and things like that can as well, and they're naturally produced in the body. But sugar kind of accelerates the production of accelerated glycation end products, and what these do is they kind of glom onto your proteins like your collagen and your elastin and make them stiff and brittle. And your collagen and elastin are the supportive tissue structure of your skin that helps it look plump and youthful and gives you that like glow. And so sugar just kind of speeds up the process of their breakdown.
I always tell people to think
Mm.
of the crust on bread
Yeah, yeah.
because that's definitely not what I
But
want my skin to look like. Uh, so I know we're getting a little bit over time, but I have one more thing I'd love to just ask about because it's such an area, a challenging area, and that's the whole controversy about sunscreens. Like, what do we do here? It's like you want to be protecting yourself against skin cancers, but then you hear about all these bad ingredients in sunscreen. So
Yikes, that
what's
is
the
such a
answer?
loaded question. Um, yeah, that's a tough one. So I've always been a proponent of mineral-based sunscreens, and zinc oxide has always been my hero ingredient. Number one, it can be used from your littles to your adults. So 1 bottle of sunscreen the whole family can use. It's tolerated for most skin types. It has broad spectrum coverage against UVA rays and UVB rays. And but sunscreen isn't everything. So it's when you get outside, use it on your exposed parts, but wear clothing that can protect, the majority of your body, a hat, sunglasses, getting.
Now, I know there's special, clothing with SPF, but
Yes.
do you need to have SPF clothing, or does all clothing do it?
So this is so this was also one of my detours along my path, was creating a sun protective clothing line, which I am thinking I need to circle back to that.
Do you have a sun protective clothing line?
So I made it for kids, and it was for everyday wear, because everything that's on the market right now, with all due respect, they're frumpy and they're ugly. And I was like, look, I lived in California at the time. The teachers did not have the bandwidth to put sunscreen on my kids. And my daughter was getting sassy and didn't want to wear what I wanted her to wear. So I actually created.
This is why I had boys, you see.
Boys are awesome. And just created pieces that were already in her closet, but were made with sun protective fabric. So to your point, all clothing offers some level of protection, but the average t-shirt, the average cotton t-shirt offers, we use the terminology UPF rather than SPF, which is sun protection factor. So, but essentially they're equivalent scale. So for a cotton t-shirt, it's only a UPF of 5 or 10. So it'll give you some protection, and depending on what your skin type is, how sensitive you are to the sun, mind you, your sensitivity to the sun does increase based on any medications that you're taking, underlying medical conditions that you might have. Those individuals with certain autoimmune diseases, like lupus, are going to be much more sensitive to the sun. So they'll give you your clothes will give you some sort of protection, but if you know that you're going to be outdoors, like going for a hike and spending a lot of time outdoors, and your skin is really sensitive, you're going to want to find clothing with the actual UPF label on it, anywhere of like 30 and above.
Ah, okay. And yeah, you're right. I've looked, and it's so not cute.
I know. I know.
So maybe we could this is a great, because I know you need another business.
I do. I actually
desperately.
do.
Oh, you do? Because boy, sexy UPF clothing. Here we go.
This is. I feel like that's in many ways my greater mission and calling. It was always the focus of my practice, skin cancer and melanoma. Then personally having to deal with it, and it's the most prevalent cancer in this country. 2 out of 3 people in Australia will be diagnosed with melanoma. I mean, this is a worldwide issue.
I did not know this was the most prevalent cancer. Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's the most prevalent. And that's the thing. It's the most preventable and the most ignored.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. It's a big deal. And, it costs over $8 billion a year to manage and treat. It doesn't get as much attention because things like diabetes and cardiac disease are multiple billions, 50, 30 billion. So skin cancer gets knocked down the pegs. But it's a quality of life issue. People are having so many, their faces cut open, chunks of their skin getting cut out, and then scars. So, granted, the clothing is not going to help from that perspective, but eating a good diet, certain supplements that you can take, but, adorning.
I feel that we must have you back to just go, no, seriously, just dive into skin cancer. And as you're saying this, it's like my sister-in-law has got a huge issue on her face from this, and it's like, so yeah, let's come back and we'll do a deep dive into skin cancer and everything that we can do, because I know there's a lot of things you can also do internally that can help. And let's definitely do that, because we need to address this more. I had no idea it was the most prevalent cancer. That's amazing. I know my husband, who grew up in San Diego and played beach volleyball, you can imagine, without his shirt on, his back now looks like, he's got chunks out of it. It's crazy. And has to go to the dermatologist every 6 months just to check things out. I'm always eagle-eyeing it to make sure, but Yeah, let's go deeper in that. But for today, I know that we have for everybody listening, we have your glowing skin guide, your 3 keys to glowing skin. So that's a start, and we've gotten some really great information on. I mean, just the sleep alone, I'm so beyond excited and happy about hearing you say that. And so I super appreciate that. You'll be able to get the guide over at jjvirgin.com/beauty code. And then we'll come back once we'll set up another time to come back in and talk all things skin cancer, how to identify it, what you can do about it. Because I think this is super important. Obviously, this is not the tag end of a podcast. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for also being willing, because it takes a lot. And a lot of times I find with people, it's kind of going into their own journey that makes them open up to really look at everything and go, all right, what can I do? And then being willing to walk away from brick and mortar and take this message out to the world. Like, thank you. We need you out there. And that's just fantastic. So thank you so much for that. And for your time today. Super appreciate it. And again, grab that at jjvirgin.com/beauty code. Now, after the break, I'm going to come back and give you some top takeaways. So stay with me. Okay, this is where I give you my action step, your big challenge, your marching orders, to make sure that with the information that you got today, you can do something with it that starts to give you results. And again, I think it's so fascinating with skin, because your skin is your mirror, and it's going to tell you what's going on. So it's really learning how to be your own health detective. I'm big on that, and to start identifying these things, which is why it's so key critical to have a journal, so that you're journaling what you're doing with your diet and lifestyle strategies, so that if something does shift in your skin, you can go back and go, what did I shift in my diet and lifestyle? What's going on here? Now, here's my marching orders for you. Number 1, start to take some inventory of your skin. Now, I literally have a magnifying mirror, which can be a little horrifying at first, I'm going to tell you. So if you haven't been using a magnifying mirror, you might go, oh my gosh, what the heck is that? But I use this magnifying mirror. I check in every single day just to make sure nothing funky, weird is appearing where it shouldn't be. And then also I just do a spot body check as well. So that's my first one I'm going to throw out there, is just to start to get really familiar with your skin, so that if something new does pop up, you are aware. Because again, now that I had no clue that skin cancer was the most pervasive cancer, but that means that if something does happen, you will catch it really quickly. Next thing is that how beyond deliriously excited I was to hear that sleep was the number one thing for skin. And so what I'm going to challenge you with there, I wear an Aura ring. And we'll put that in the resources, and get some kind of tracking device, or a ring, Fitbit. But what you measure and monitor, you can improve. And so I check my Aura ring every single day for my sleep score and my readiness score. And I am committed to getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night, which means if I want 8 hours of sleep, I can't go to bed at 10 if I'm getting up at 6, because I'm not falling asleep the minute my head hits the pillow. So ideally, you're getting in bed 30 minutes before, and at least, and then you're falling asleep easily, and then you're staying asleep throughout the night, and then you're waking up without an alarm, feeling rested. That's the goal. If you're snickering at me, we've got some work to do. Anyway, that's the goal. Let's start with that. So big takeaways from the day. Now you have yet another reason, besides me harping on sleep, for health and weight loss and insulin sensitivity and appetite control and growth hormone and anti-aging, is to put it in there for your skin as well. And then to really familiarize with yourself with your skin, so that when you do see the shifts, you'll be able to go, all right, is this something that I need to go to see my doctor about? Or is this something that I need to shift in my diet or my lifestyle routine? What's going on? Okay, awesome. Couple reminders. Number 1, jjvirgin.com/beauty code. Get the show notes, and also get the links to some of the things we talked about today, and I'll put my sleep tips in there as well. And then we also will put Dr. Keira Barr's Glowing Skin Guide, 3 Keys to Glowing Skin, and subscribe to JJ. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. All you have to do is go to subscribe2jj.com. And while you're there, I'd love a review. Let me know what you think. And if there's something you'd like to hear more about, let me know that too. That's how we decide what's going to happen on the episodes, is we hear from you, because this is your show. All right. See you soon. Ciao.